AD says a tyrant could use a 7-year term in office to circumvent the civil liberties of his own people. Senior presidential advisor on media and public relations John Nagenda was weighing in on the proposal being mooted by Junior Health Minister James Kakooza to introduce a 7-year presidential term.
7 is too long, and this is my reasoning. If you have a very poor president who's not doing his job properly, or a president who is a danger to his own people, then 7 years is too long.
But as controversy swirls over the idea, Nagenda, an insider in the ruling party, says he has never heard of the plan. However, he says Kakooza is entitled to his own opinion.
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, maybe in certain circles they've done it, but it doesn't matter whether the NRM has done it or Mr. Kakooza is bringing this suggestion on his own.
Nevertheless, Nagenda argues that there should be a cushion against long spells in power and even suggested that in the future, perhaps presidential term limits should be restored.
If we find in the future that we have a president who's not fit to rule, or to rule, sort of 4 or 5 terms or whatever, then maybe we go back to the safety of saying 2-year term.
Museveni's AD also fears that the constitution will lose its sanctity if it is tampered with now and then.
Then, of course, I also believe that a constitution, although it's a living thing which can be changed, that if you overdo the changing of it, you take away from its dignity.
However, a former Special Presidential Assistant on Research and Information and Kibali County MP Frank Tumwebazi dismisses the notion that dictators can only emerge because of long presidential terms.
Leaders who deviate from the aspirations of the people are those, of course, who violate constitutional governance. Now, I want to tell you that a bad leader can mess up a country even in 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. Now, how can a bad leader come up? If a bad leader comes up and you have a parliament that cannot impeach that bad leader, even if it is 5 years, you are sure that he or she will plunge the country into chaos.
He says that whereas Kakooza's position may not be the official position of government, there is no reason why it cannot be debated.
I would like to give to the proponent of the idea is that 7 years shouldn't be seen to be too long to deny the periodic opportunity to the population to elect their own leaders. That's the kind of caution I wanted the proponents to have on that one. But on the other hand, if you try to look for certain merits in his proposal, one is tempted to think that the kind of tendency growing up of having too much electioneering. So you have 2 years to 3 years purely of electioneering and campaigning. So the question is, when will you unite the population? When will you have, people working for development and not politics?
Earlier on, during a news conference at the Media Center, Information Minister Kawakumba Masiko said the 7-year term is not an official government position.
The Ugandan is free to come up with proposals of whatever nature.
However, she said if there are any plans, they would have to follow laid down parliamentary procedure to amend the constitution. Emma Mtaizibwa, NTV Tonight.